structure of sentences, and allegedly, once you understand Latin, you can understand all languages very, very simply and the way they're constructed. And I think with assembly language, rightly or wrongly, yes, it wasn't an environment where people could instantly be creative, but it gave you a better understanding of the concepts behind what you were doing. And also, for moving on to other languages in the future, it would make that transition easier. Having said that, what I would like to say to anybody thinking about programming, there's a plethora of decent languages out there, and probably one that I'd recommend for any person looking to start coding would be probably Python. Very good scripting language that's very, very popular and very well supported. So just have a little look at that and see how you get on, because I think coding and programming as a hobby especially is absolutely fantastic. It's a very rewarding thing, and I think it's looked down upon by many people who think it's geeky and think it's a solitary experience, and it's not. It's a very social experience nowadays. The coding forums, the numerous coding forums, are very popular, very busy places, and it's a great way to meet new people and a great way to improve yourself. So I thoroughly recommend somebody taking it up as a hobby if you've been thinking about it. Sorry, Rob.
I was going to say something about the growth in terms of memory, in terms of the cheapness of computers in general, computer resources, is one of the reasons we don't tend to think about bit level optimizations too much, and we also assume that people will do it for us. So the compiler is going to just optimize away all kinds of issues that we have in the program, and loops being quicker and all sorts of things. But one of I personally had to learn using binary code in the first year and actually programming in assembly code. And we did the furthest we went was doing bubble sort and actually implement this in assembly, which isn't very simple, especially when you're just an 18-year-old going to university. But anyway, we were forced to do that and to think about what actually happens in the computer and actually learn the whole process of how this is being done and what actually happens in the registers and how the memory is being handled. And that's a great experience if you assume, and I see it all around me these days. I see people who go into programming and they can be very good programmers, but they don't really know what happens underneath. Now, they don't actually have to know exactly what goes on underneath if they program well, but the issue is when they start to deal with dealing with chunks of 32 bits or 46 bits, 64 bits. They don't exactly know how the program is going to work better on the processors, because they don't actually understand how it works. And even things with memory management, they don't think about it because they just assume something else will handle it for them. And if you want to program something extremely efficiently, you have to sometimes go into writing some code in a very low level way and trying to stick things together in a way that you could not achieve with a high level programming language. And if you want to make, I was just gonna hop onto a different strand here and just say, if you want to make Linux boot very fast, you have to understand how the computer works. You have to understand latencies and things like that. And I mean, now we have things booting in less than 10 seconds, and I know Sabian has just had a release 5.5, which boasts actually booting very fast. I think they all do, because they use the same code. They all use Linux. They all use X and so on. But yeah, 8 seconds of boot time now is break by this distro called Maverick. So
right, I've come across. I mean, my Peppermint, I think, and this is going off my memory now. I'd say I think it's about 14 seconds. That's to a fully operational Chromium browser. With my Google search as a homepage, which is what I always use for the homepage. So, very quickly, just to end on that, yeah, I completely agree with what you were saying, Roy. And I think, in the days, like I say, when learning assembly language was the norm if you wanted to do anything special, in quotes, it wasn't a case of specs being a bottomless pit like they are today. And I think maybe I look at some of the things that the Amiga was doing, and then look at the spec requirements for the equivalent on a PC, and you sort of think, well, maybe this is one of the key areas where the loss of that sort of underlying skill is shown, because people don't understand, or some people don't understand the hardware that they're coding for, therefore can't get the best out of it and don't make the most of what they have, and produce more bloated, more inefficient code, which means that it requires higher specs to run at a decent speed. That was just my sort of generalized view of the computing industry since I jumped on the bandwagon when I was about 7 or 8 with the Spectrum 48K. So moving on, right, I've got a very quick one to mention, since we were sort of talking about Linux and distributions. and it's a web converger. It's a distro, a Debian-based distro, which I covered on OpenBytes previously. I think it was version 6, a series that I covered. And it's just a very quick mention. If you're after a kiosk, a web kiosk-based distro, it's a very, very good distribution to have. I was very impressed with web conversion before. It's no nonsense. It's not flashy. It doesn't have fancy graphics. It's virtually boot off the live CD into memory and you're ready to go.
I think it's a British one, isn't it?
I beg your pardon, Ross?
I think it's a British one as well, but I'm not exactly sure. Because I write about it about once a month when they have a release or a beta, or they don't have very frequent releases as far as I know.
Yes, I say 6 series. I think actually it is 5 series that I last looked at it, and because of course when I'm looking at new distributions, a web kiosk distribution isn't particularly one that would have any need requirement for me in the home. But I was very impressed with web conversion. It does exactly what it says in the tin. Firefox browser. And rock solid. I mean, there's not really much more you can say. There's probably a whole debate there as to whether web-based apps are a good thing and et cetera, et cetera. But it's a very good distribution, and very well maintained. So if you're thinking for a Linux kiosk, want a Linux web kiosk distro, go and have a look at that. Interestingly enough though, on the site, there was also a section on employment, and they're looking for university students, according to the site, to apply to them if they're interested in work, which I thought was quite a nice little touch. So that was something else quite interesting. So if you're coming to the end of your university course and looking for a job and want a Linux-based job, and it might be something there, I don't know. It's on the website, but there'll be a link on the show notes anyway, and you can have a look yourself. Sorry, Roy, your bit of news, next bit.
I think we I'm just wondering if we actually had it in the previous show. We talked. Did we talk about Microsoft bragging about bringing 5,000 jobs to the UK in terms of support job, saying it was creating jobs in the UK when things break for Windows, basically. I don't think we did.
No, I don't think we've covered that.
Yeah, I pretty much told you the story just now, but it's the same old kind of. Lots of noise about when they released Vista, for example. They were talking about how it was going to improve the economy and everything else just by the merit of being not the people who actually sell the thing. Possibly the ones that actually sell the thing usually are just OEMs who pay Microsoft directly and then charge you even more to buy your computer, so they don't actually make any more money on you. But Microsoft likes to give this kind of good feeling that Microsoft is kind of boosting the economy and everybody's kind of like fixing somebody else's computer and things kind of run along and it's a very productive, a very beneficial thing. Now the truth is, if you look at the expenses that go towards fixing Windows or handling Windows, you should look at it the other way. You should look at, this is the cost of having Windows in the economy. It's not really the benefit of Windows, it's just how much money has to be put into trying to maintain this beast, and not really the savings, but rather the spendings. And this is the type of things they played in. I think it was this month, to be honest. I think it's the beginning of this month that we're talking about. Well, we create 5,000 jobs in the UK, and they give you the impression. Of course, many people will not read the fine prints, and they'll just think, oh, Microsoft is hiring 5,000 people, which isn't the case. They still fire people very quietly, and usually hiring. If they hire anyone at all now, they move the legal team is gradually being moved to India, at least the paralegals, those who do the research, because they don't have to attend the court, and they don't actually have to do much of the work that's kind of visible. Like with most cases, Microsoft will try to move it somewhere else and not get it to receive too much attention. And that's fine from the point of view of being fair and being a global company. It's a bit more of an issue when you consider the reasons they do that, and just they try to pay the employees less money, and that's just a separate debate altogether, because it's not just Microsoft that's doing that. One of the things that I will say, because I was talking about it today, is the extent of lobbying they do to receive permits to employ people from overseas, for example, in the United States, and the way they basically lie to Congress to achieve that. And how one thing I did receive today from a fellow person who I've been in touch with is how NPR doesn't cover the issue anymore because Bill Gates is basically paying the millions of dollars every year. So it's kind of that's a different topic altogether.
Yeah, I mean, it's we always